Good evening, ladies. I'm sitting in my cupboard. I'm hiding from my children and my husband, just for some peace and quiet while I do this. Inspiration of Mary, whom I love, and just absolutely her story melted my heart completely. I wanted to also share my story as like a video response kind of thing. Okay, so here we go. I am Sarah. I am Australian. I have Italian heritage. I was born in Sydney, New South Wales. I was brought up on the Gold Coast, so my whole life was on the Gold Coast. There I went to a good primary school. I was bullied, for being different because I was ethnic, and the school that I went to, there wasn't many of my kind at that school that I did go to. So that was tough. I never really felt like I belonged. I still don't now, to be honest. I came from a good family. My mother worked extremely hard, very, very hard. She had a restaurant before I was born, and she had that still up until I was 13. I don't know my father. He left my mother when she was 6 months pregnant because he didn't want to have me, basically. And he left. Later did I find out that he actually left her for a woman who was a drug addict and who actually had 4 kids already. So that really sucked. So that my grandparents looked after me. My grandmother died when I was 5 years old. So it was just me and my grandfather. We were super close. Because he passed away. He was my father figure. He was a very, very strong, very stubborn, but very good-hearted man. He taught me a lot, even though we battled our heads together, because I was quite stubborn myself when I was 13. But looking back, he was a beautiful, beautiful man, and I'm so grateful for what he's taught me while growing up. So now I'll get into the bit of the heavier stuff. So if I cry, I apologize. It's not very easy to open up about this sort of stuff. Alrighty. So, I was molested as a child. I would have been about 2 or 3. I don't actually, I remember it. It's more like a dream kind of thing, but it was a persistent dream that I had when I was older. And it was this man, I would say he was about 20. He had a long blonde hair, was surfy. We were at the beach, at the park, and I was on swings, and he was playing on the swings, and my grandparents were looking after me at the time. And he took it out. And as a child, you don't know, because you just don't know what they are, especially at that age. And I remember playing with it. So I used to have that dream a lot. And I don't know if that explains my certain behavior that I've had growing up. But so that happened. When I was about 6 years old, I had a girlfriend, like a legitimate lesbian girlfriend. I remember doing things to each other, and as if it felt normal to me, completely normal. So her name was Sarah as well. She was blonde. So that went on for a little while, as a kid. Then I grew up a little bit. I was 9. I had another girlfriend, type of thing. I grew up again. Then I started getting interested in boys. As I said just before, I never really felt like I belonged. And I felt like that I had to, not say I would have to do things, but I felt like I always had to impress people, especially boys, for them to like me. I never really felt appreciated or just liked, yeah, like most of my life I've always felt like I've tried too hard to do everything, just for people like me. So yeah, so I got into boys a little bit as I got older. Into my first disco. I was forced to kiss this guy. I was really uncomfortable. So then I started really liking boys more, even though I was still curious about girls, but that totally passed my head and I was more interested in boys. At this stage, the internet had come through into my life, and my girlfriend, at that time, I was in grade 4, so I would have been about 9 actually at this point, I think, maybe a little bit older. I honestly can't remember. She actually taught me how to do cybersix, which is really bizarre because we were so young. And so I used to go in chat rooms and do that sort of thing, which is not normal behaviour for a child. I was, on there, and somebody asked me if I wanted to give them a blowjob for $500. Little did I know it was actually a pedophile. We met up, didn't do anything, thought it was way creepy, and I left. I shouldn't have gone in the first place, but as a child, $500 is like, oh my god, So yeah, that happened. So I kept growing up. I was 13. I got a job. I used to work weekends, it was really good for me. I used to really love it, as I am very bubbly personality. I used to sing and dance while washing dishes and doing coffee, and it was a quite open spot, so everybody could see me doing that. I had a lot of fun. As a kid, teenager, life is a breeze. You've got no responsibilities, no worries, no nothing. You can just be happy. So I was 13, that happened, and I don't know if anybody knows, but there's a site, there used to be a site called Funky Sexy Cool. I was on that site. I was about, 14, 15 when I was on that site, and I met this guy called Adrian. And I thought he was just like, oh my god, such a babe. Anyways, we met up, and little did I know that he would father my children a couple of years later. But anyways, we got together, then we were still together. Then I actually went overseas to Italy for 3 months to visit, my family. My mum took me. We went to visit my family and everything like that. That was really cool. Came back, we broke up kind of thing. Then I met this other guy called Steve, and we got engaged. I was only 15 and a half, 16. We got engaged. So that was interesting. But before that happened, I was working one day at the coffee shop, and I saw this really good-looking older guy. And as I said, I was 15. And, he took me out on a date. I think he was like, 20, 21, 22, 23. And I said that I was 17. Because, it's what you do when you're stupid and you're young and you want to go on a date. And yeah, we actually went back to his hotel room. And that, and little did I know that he had a whole bunch of friends there, which he had called over because they were visiting from another state. So then I'm not going to say, but I think you can guess what happened after that. So yeah, that happened. Sorry, it's really difficult. So yeah, that happened. So yeah, I lost my virginity to that, which was very, very, very disturbing. Very disturbing. In one way, the first time was alright, but then what happens afterwards, I wasn't expecting it, I was not expecting it. Yeah, that was awful. Let's just say they've done things to my body that I never thought could possibly happen to somebody like that. But anyways, so that happened, and then, I didn't want to do anything for a long time. And then I met this Steve guy just after that had happened. And I thought he was, awesome or whatever. It turned out he was a complete psychopath as well. We broke up, but then I ended up getting pregnant at 16 to him. But I actually had an abortion, which I don't like to admit very often, because I, as a Catholic growing up, I never believed in them, because I, giving a child is just so, it's just so precious. But yeah, I did have an abortion because I didn't want my rest of my life to be dealing with that, let alone I was only 16 when it had happened. So after all that happened, I was just single, doing my own thing, whatever, working my butt off. Then I had found out that my grandfather had cancer. And I became his caregiver because I got kicked out of school because I went on holidays to Italy and I came back and I got kicked out of school. Sorry, the story's a little bit muddled. I'm remembering pieces backwards. I do apologise. So what happened was, I came back from Italy. I got kicked out of school. I was doing year 10, doing year 10 at TAFE, which is like I suppose a community, like a learning college type of thing for you guys in America. Then I found out, and I was with Steve at this point when that happened, and I found out that he had cancer, so I quit school completely, and I just devoted my time to look after him, because he gave me, so much life when I was growing up and supported me, and I wanted to do the same for him, because he was my everything, you know what I mean? And then, so unfortunately, he did pass away 1 month before he turned 81. This was about 7 years ago now. About 8 years ago now, sorry. So that happened. He passed away, and then ever since then, I think my life just completely fell apart. I didn't actually grieve him passing away until probably about 2-3 years later. I just broke down and just started crying, like, holy crap, he's not here anymore kind of thing. Like, I know he's here with me now, but he's not actually here, you know what I mean? Which made me really sad. Like, he's not going to see me get married, or he's never going to see the grandkids. So that made me really sad. So after he passed away, me and Steve were engaged just before he passed away. And then me and Steve broke up, then I got pregnant, then I had the abortion. And then I saw Adrian again. And, it was like, oh my God, like, how you doing, blah, 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 blah. We were together for about 5 months, I believe, and then I got pregnant with my daughter, Aaliyah. And that was just, oh my God. It was just such an awful experience. I mean, I really wish it didn't, I found out I was pregnant, and I was crying because I loved him, and I'm like, you know what, I don't want to have an abortion because I already had one, and I don't want to lose another baby, and because of my stupidity that I was on birth control though, but I still got pregnant on birth control when I was with Adrian. So we had Aaliyah, and, all these problems arose. He started cheating on me with escorts. He started cheating on me with his ex-girlfriend. I woke up one morning when I was 8 months pregnant, and I saw these text messages saying, I can't wait to see you again, and I hope you wear a mini skirt and a tight bra, and blah, 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 blah. I was just raging. I'm thinking to myself, I'm sitting here 8 months pregnant with your baby, and you're doing this to me. Like, you could be fucking kidding me. Like, seriously. But, I couldn't do anything because I was pregnant and I didn't want to be a single mother. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just had turned 18, and you just don't want that kind of thing. So, so that happened. Oops, 1 second. Can you please be quiet? I'm doing something really important. Can you guys sit downstairs, please? I'm asking you. Stop. Yeah, and we're going to have a barbecue soon. Go, please. I'm begging you. Please go down. Please. Thank you. I'm so sorry about that. No, go downstairs, please. Christopher, go downstairs. they found me. What can you do? That's what happens when you're a parent, I guess. So yeah, anyways, that happened. During my pregnancy, he was very violent. I'm lucky that I have a Leah still. He used to push me. He used to lay his hands on me while I was pregnant. He was just very, 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 very angry person. So, yeah. And then, I didn't want to leave him because of the baby. We just had her. And then my daughter was about 2.5, 3.5 months old. I got pregnant with my son, Christopher. Everything was peachy, but same behaviour again. Cheating, watching consistent porn, all that sort of stuff. I found on his computer once a whole list of women, like prostitutes, by their call girl name, their bra size, their waist size, and how old they were. It was absolutely disgusting. So that continued to happen. And then he wasn't a good father. You know what I mean? Like, I look back now just think, why the hell did I stay for that long? I mean, it wasn't that long. I did leave when my daughter was 2. My son had just turned 1. Just after he just had turned 1, I had left. But I was thinking to myself, why am I leaving? Like, why am I putting up with this? One day he was pushing me around in front of my children, and I snapped. And I got my fist and I knocked him in the jaw. And then he stood back and was like, oh. Like, as if to say, I didn't know she had it in her, kind of thing. And ever since then, I've changed. I'll admit, I'm not a very assertive person. Again, but I'm not. Because I'm considerate of how other people feel to what I say. So I'm very cautious about what I do. But I am learning to be very assertive. So when that happened, my mum basically kicked him out for me because I didn't have the balls to, because she knew what was going on, kind of thing. He didn't know that he was hitting me, but she did know that she was cheating on me, and with the prostitutes and stuff like that. And she knew that he wasn't helping me with money with kids. My mum would help me buy nappies, help me buy clothes, help me support the kids, toys, things they needed. He wouldn't do that. He'd be like, well, the government's giving you money. Why do I need to give you money? Like, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It's like, well, hello, I didn't knock myself up. You helped me, kind of thing. So one day we were at the shops, like a shopping mall, and, I said, well, look, this is your time with the kids. I'm walking away because I don't need to be here. He kept chasing me. I was like, well, no, we want to be together, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm having enough. I'm gone. So then I started walking around the shops, and then he got the shits. And then that weekend, he had the kids just for himself with his parents. And I was like, I don't know, just something was in me. On the Thursday night, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going crazy. I'm not being a good mother. I just felt, I don't even know what I was doing. You know what I mean? So I took my kids the next day. I packed the car up, and then I drove about 11 hours from the Gold Coast, which is in Queensland, to New South Wales. So I drove all that way to do that, and I left with my kids to New South Wales. Luckily, my best friend, I was calling her as I was doing it, I sold all my jewelry, all the kids' christening jewelry, baptism jewelry. I sold all my jewelry that I had from baptism, all my costas, everything like that. I sold everything just so I could drive away from this hot mess. I didn't even tell my mother. I just packed my shit and I left because I couldn't handle it, and I thought she was going to stop me. But luckily my girlfriend gave me some money for the night to stay in this hotel. The next day I went to go see my godmother and Aaliyah's godmother at her restaurant. This is where I met my fiance, future husband. So I did that. I saw them, and I couldn't stay with them, and I had nowhere to go. And I was talking to Rocky, my future husband, and he goes, look, come stay with me and my family, which is just his dad and his brother. Come stay with us until you find your feet, kind of thing. And I was like, I don't know, I don't know, like, I said yes, but beforehand, most of you who are in love or married would maybe know this feeling, but when you see somebody and you have that connection, and you just have that like magnetism draw to somebody. I don't know, that's what I had. That's the best way I can describe it. That's what I had. So yeah, so I moved in with him, and we've never been apart ever since then, pretty much. So I was living with him for a month, and then the worst just happened, the absolute worst. I was raped by someone in Rocky's family. I'm not going to say names. With my children watching, they were babies. I didn't know what to do. We were in an apartment building, and we were on the top floor. And my kids were asleep at the time, and I froze. I completely froze. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? My body went into like a state of shock, you know, because I was like, my kids are on the floor, my daughter's watching through the mirror, you know. I can't even express to you how that feels. It was so bad, but it's okay. That happened. Me and Rocky, I told Rocky obviously what had happened. I was very, very angry. You know, we didn't break up. Funnily enough, we didn't. We got through it. We did have a very, very, very rough relationship from that point onwards. You know, I never felt appreciated by him or wanted, you know, obviously because what happened. You know, we knew we loved each other. We knew that we were soulmates, but because of what happened and who it was so traumatic for both of us, because he was in shock about who it was and what happened, and I was in shock because I was like, holy shit, my kids were in there watching and I didn't know what to do, and anyways, me and Rocky, very, very rough time. I cheated, he cheated, you know, but we were still together because we didn't leave each other. You know, we would argue all the time. You know, we'd never had sex. You know, it was awful. And then he moved out, but we were still like seeing each other. You know what I mean? Not like we were like still together, but we weren't together. So then I moved into my own place, and then I was seeing somebody else, and I had moved in with them because I needed stability for my children. That's what I wanted. And funnily enough, it was actually my ex when I was like, just before I met Adrian. So this other guy that I met, and yeah, you know, and we got along really well. So we got together, and we got engaged very quickly. And then Rocky found out everything, and then he's like, you know, I love you, move back in with me. And so I was like, oh my god, you know what I mean? Like, so then I moved back in with Rocky because I knew he was the one from the beginning. And we worked everything out, and we're still together, and we're getting married next year, which is really exciting. So yeah, but after that whole situation happened, about a year and a half later, about a year later, I had a stroke. Supposedly because it's all the stress that I had. I just couldn't cope. You know, what do you do? And then the year after that, I got meningitis, which put me in hospital for about 5 days. And then a year after that, I found out I had PCOS. So in the meantime of me having a stroke and meningitis, I actually gained about 30 kilos. And I was like, you know, what the hell is going on with my body? You know, because I had taken out the Mirena, which was a UID. So I thought in my mind that my body just needs time to get it going. And then me and Rocky were having sex in the meantime, and I thought, oh, maybe I'm pregnant here and there, because I was late a lot, but I wasn't. Eventually I got my period. Anyways, one day I was, determined, thinking, I'm pregnant. I mean, I know that I'm pregnant. I'm like so late, and I'm getting all these symptoms, peeing, hungry, all this sort of stuff. And we did a vaginal ultrasound, and that's when we found all the follicles and the cysts. I had heaps. I think about 15 on each side, I believe. So I had a lot. So I got referred to I did a blood test, once we found that out. I did a blood test, and she confirmed thyroids, just everything was out of whack. So that happened. And then I went to my gynecologist. He put me on metformin. I took it for about a week and a half, and it made me feel sick. I'm sorry, I took it for 3 days. I felt so sick. So I got my periods on it, but I didn't take it after 3 days. I was like, you know what, this is not worth it. I'm going to try and do my own way. I'm going to try and do a little weight loss. And while that was happening, I was having chronic mood pains, and I was just angry at everything that happened in my life and everything. So one morning I just woke up. I had the shits. I was absolutely pissed off, and that day I tried to commit suicide. In my head, I was going to drive off a cliff, and that would be the end. But luckily, I was speaking to my future husband, and he talked me out of it. And here I am today. I was trying to exercise for so long, and I had the metformin in the cupboard. And about, 2 months ago now, I think it is, maybe a little bit longer, I started taking it again. I started seeing a therapist to help me with my issues, because I wasn't happy. I was depressed, and I was very anxious. I didn't want to go out in public because I felt so fat and disgusting and ugly that I didn't want to be seen by anybody. I wouldn't want to go anywhere. Even with my husband, he says that I'm beautiful. I just didn't want to do anything. But luckily through therapy and everything, and I'm doing better. And then now I have this page, which is amazing. And it's helping me just come out of my shell a lot more, because I have all these beautiful women that are supporting me, which is really nice. And I'm on the right track, I guess. So that's pretty much everything that's happened in my life so far, and all the good things are yet to come. Getting married next year, hopefully gonna have babies, God willing. Sometimes I feel really guilty because I did have an abortion when I was so young that maybe I got punished. That's why I got PCOS. It's kind of fucked up, but that's how I think sometimes. But thank you for watching and listening to my life, my stories, and what's happened. So thank you, and I love you all, and take care. Bye.